I think especially if you're starting up and even if you're starting to struggle, make sure you surround yourself with a good support system of people, whether that be family, friends, and even professionally. Go to networking events, go find other entrepreneurs, find other clubs, anything like that. You're going to want on the professional side, you're going to want to find, even if you're not using their services to their full extent, a good accountant, a bookkeeper, just to bounce questions off. Maybe you don't have employees to start, but find someone that can help you with HR questions down the road because you're going to have some that'll pop up. You're going to want to find someone, for law questions, anything that might be legal. There's a lot of different resources out there, especially with universities.
You're listening to The Kitchen Convoy.
Welcome to The Kitchen Convoy, your audio podcast and YouTube video home for boulevard bites, treats on the street, Main Street menus, nomadic nibbles, and anything food truck related. I'm your host, Nate, where every week we bring you stories, thoughts, hot tips from food truck operators around the U.S. So what's on the menu for today? Today I'm excited to speak with Taylor Okerlund from Purple Basil in Plover, Wisconsin. He's here to remind us that becoming successful and popular in our communities takes planning, trial and error, persistence, and an appropriate support group. This podcast is sponsored by OrderUpApps.com, the easiest way to run your food truck business without the headache. Let OrderUp Apps handle the tech so you can focus on serving great food. Learn more at OrderUpApps.com. Links in the description. Hey, Taylor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Not too bad. All right. Well, first, I'd like to start with our guest story. So this is maybe your history. How did you get into this business? Give us some background into the thought process that went into the Purple Basil food truck.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have really no experience in the food industry. That was more coming from my wife, Carolina. She's got her culinary arts degree, and she's been in California, San Diego area doing food industry in Texas. She's originally from Texas. I'm always from Wisconsin here. So we met in the military and, that just kind of, built up on, us and our love for food. I've always just had an interest of being an entrepreneur. When I moved back to Wisconsin, when I started going for my bachelor's degree, everything was just built around a food truck. There was a lack of food trucks in central Wisconsin around that time. So, and then when she moved over to central Wisconsin here, she was just, where's the food truck? So it was kind of, almost a no brainer, something that she's always really loved doing between San Diego and Texas, where they were already thriving. And then coming here and there wasn't really anything. So we sat down and started doing some market research on, what's the best way, to go about which cuisine to go for and everything. So that's how we kind of landed with Purple Basil doing Italian food.
And how long has the truck been operational?
This is going on our 6th year with the food truck.
Okay.
So we started in 2020, right with COVID and everything. So
Yeah.
it was a good and bad time. So a lot of events and everything, at least in central Wisconsin, we're still doing outdoor events. So it worked really well for us to be able to have a food truck and, be able to serve to everyone outdoors.
Yeah. Okay. And then a question I like to ask, especially for established trucks, do you remember how long it took for you to feel successful, like it was going to work, like you're running on all 8 cylinders?
I would have to say it was probably going into the 2nd year is when we really started feeling it. And that was the first full year we knew that we had something and we were still working out the kinks. By the 2nd year, we started in the beginning and then I left my full-time job. So we knew we had enough saved to get us through that first year if need be. And that's where we just kind of went all for it. And then my wife was still working part-time throughout that year. And by the end of that 2nd year, we were like, we can do this between her and I. So right now it's our full-time job here in central Wisconsin, which Wisconsin's cold. So it makes it a little bit more difficult on that side.
Yeah. Something else you mentioned, let me see if I can remember it. You mentioned working out the kinks. What were some of the kinks? Was it a menu thing or I don't. You tell me what were some of the difficulties in the early part?
Yeah, menu was definitely part of it. So when we decided to do Italian food, we weren't too sure on which route to go, which we'll kind of dive into, more with that. But we basically just started a menu with, a fully customizable menu, two types of pasta, two sauces, two proteins, and usually two to three veggies. And people could come up to the window and just order what they wanted. And we did that for the first 2 years. And, working through those kinks, we started deciding, hey, we need to start figuring out a set menu on the most popular items and make part of the menu that's these items for sure to make it quicker ordering. And if we're going to certain events, we need to have a smaller menu, not just have customizable, so that helps us, what we're loading on the truck and preparing and not having so much waste
Mhm.
and everything like that. And also almost every food truck, even in our area, just knowing what questions to ask on what events you're going to and when to say no. It's okay to say no to events
Mm.
because being here, you're so limited on good weather that you have to make the most out of every event that you go to, especially on the weekends, because there's 30 events that are going around at any given Saturday. So you want to make sure that you're going to something that you're not going there and you're losing money, which you're going to have good days and bad days. But finding those good events, those questions to ask to make sure that you're going to be profitable for that year.
Okay. All right. What you mentioned about the menus, you kind of have to pare it down and keep it simpler than most people expect. I think. Yeah, I've heard that from several different people. So yeah, I understand that.
Mhm.
And then the events, yeah, that's always a if a new event comes down the road, you're not sure. There's a bit of hesitancy. Yeah, I get that. Okay. All
Definitely.
right, good. Hey, let's jump into your menu highlights. So tell us. We know it's Italian comfort food.
Mhm.
What are some things somebody might want to know? Maybe how do you choose your ingredients? Are they locally sourced ingredients? Just tell me. I'll let you speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's always been kind of a joke for us. So we do Italian food, and everyone's like, "Well, who's the Italian on the truck?" And neither of us. I'm Polish. My wife is Mexican. So, and they're like, "Well, why Italian food? It's our second favorite food." So my wife didn't want to be. And she's like, "There's so many Mexican food trucks or Mexican restaurants around." She's like, "I didn't want to do that." And with our market research, there really wasn't anything. So that's what landed us on that menu for it. But for our sourcing, we do as much local as possible. So farmers markets are our best friends because everything on our truck is either cooked essentially to order. So we have a lot of fresh veggies and everything like that on the truck. And then as much as we can as well, we'll get imported in. Sometimes they're through the large suppliers like Cisco or US Foods and everything like that. But we're getting their European imports for that. So all of our menu 75% of it is made from scratch. We house made sauces, everything like that. Um, we hand roll all of our meatballs for meatball subs and spaghetti and meatballs.
Mhm.
The one thing we haven't just had time to do or even the space for it is just, making our own pastas, which is, you know, hopefully going forward on it. But, we make our own garlic butter for garlic breads and things like that. So as much as we can do ourselves, we try to do. And that's been one of the things that make us that stand out that way too. So in
Mhm.
doing that, I think our top sellers for sure are really anything with Alfredo. Um, I mean, our chicken Alfredo broccoli was one of the by far the top seller, which is why we took that customizable concept and made that a menu item. And then we ended up adding an Italian mac and cheese, where we use adding more of a cheesier one, and we top it with a local Nuski's Applewood smoked meats from around the area here from my hometown. So we add that bacon crumble on there with some toasted breadcrumbs, and that's actually become the new fan favorite. And then a lot of local, we have a mushroom ragu that's been really good, where we slow braise some mushrooms from a local grower here in town. So, like I said, trying to source as much from possible. And then we also have one unique item that it's called Italian nachos that no one else around this area has been doing yet. But we use like the Alfredo sauce for the quote unquote nacho cheese. And Carolina was like, "How do I incorporate, some Mexican food with Italian food?" So she actually came up with an Italian pico, which has kind of been, I don't even know what's in it. It's her recipe. Like I know what ingredients are there, but I don't know the quantities. It's just kind of one of those things that's still in her head. And she's like, this is the thing that's going to put us on the map. But it's one of those things always convincing people, and they're like, "I don't know how I feel about that," and be like, "Let me give you a sample," and they're like, "I need all of it. I need more." But it's one of those things that are always throw people through a loop, and then they're like, "That's the most amazing thing I've ever had." So,
Well, I saw the Italian nachos on your menu. It didn't occur to me, but that's a fusion food. Got that
mhm.
the Mexican meets Italian, and where do they meet? Well, with Italian nachos, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that all came because we were doing festivals, I think, around that 2nd year too, and we're like, nobody's really wanting to get a hot bowl of pasta in the middle of July, when it's hot, heavy, everything like that. We're like, we need some finger food type things. So that's where
Mhm.
kind of our Italian grilled cheese, triple cheese melt has came up. Our meatball subs started becoming more of a favorite there too, and then Italian nachos were born. So we're having some other options that weren't strictly pasta.
Yeah, okay. I was talking with my brother about your menu. Okay, well, what do they have? I'm like, it's Italian, but it's not just pasta. There are some other things, even the garlic bread, that kind of stuff. So it looks like you have a good variety from which to choose. It's not just butter noodles or something. You
Yeah,
have a
which honestly,
lot of
butter
different
noodles
stuff.
has been some of the we always chuckle because the amount of adults that come over and get butter noodles and are like, it's my favorite thing." And I'm like, "It's butter and, salt and Parmesan cheese." So, if you're doing a pasta truck out there, make sure you add butter noodles to it because 'cause you'd be surprised how many people will get it, especially for kids. But, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a kid's food, but maybe there's a nostalgia
there's yeah,
something there.
that's the whole reason we put it on there was for kids, but the amount of adults so this I think this last year we even said, "Hey, you can add proteins and veggies to it if you want," and people started doing that just to do it for even, like, a lighter meal, and that's one other thing too is because we still do offer the customizable side of it, we're becoming one of those trucks that are able to do we offer zucchini noodles that we hand cut the zucchini, zoodles for. So we can do, gluten-friendly, vegan, a vegetarian, pretty much every dietary restriction someone might have, we can essentially cater to them off the food truck. So that's been a big help for us.
Okay, that's one of the questions I usually ask is special dietary requirements. So you mentioned keto, vegan, vegetarian.
Mhm.
Have you seen those increase in popularity, or is it kind of been steady in the background? What's your experience been with that?
Definitely with the zucchini noodles, people absolutely love that we offer those. Either they can't have gluten or they're just, trying to stay back on it or, I'm just trying to be a little bit healthier. To have a lighter option, they'd love that that's an option for it. We've had one repeat customer since the beginning who will constantly ask if I can do half noodles, half zucchini noodle because they're like, I want pasta, but I want all the pasta. So I mean, we're pretty much open to just about anything. That's the great thing about our truck.
Yeah, if we got it, we'll make it for you, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Have you ever added any menu items specifically because of customer demand or customer feedback, or maybe you've taken any items off because nobody wanted it? How often do you change your menu?
For the most part, we stay pretty consistent on it. There's been times where, for some reason, like during lunchtime, we've noticed after 1 year, meatball subs weren't really selling during lunch. So then we cut meatball subs to just being during our dinner time. And then for
Okay.
some reason, everyone started asking about meatball subs during lunch, and I'm like, "Oh, go figure." But, yeah, we've noticed some things like that. We'll add on some like, during when it starts getting colder in the fall, we'll add some soups on that way. When we were traveling around more, we've actually noticed in certain areas, we would sell more marinara versus Alfredo or vice versa. So depending on where we would travel, we would adjust our menu accordingly to that too, or more chicken versus Italian sausage or even more zucchini noodles. So those are just things that we learned over time of traveling into, what we bring to where we're going.
Yeah, okay. No, that's unique insight, and that probably just takes a lot of experience and maybe a little bit of instinct. Oh, if we're going to this place or this event, we're going to have to make some subtle changes. Okay, no, that makes perfect sense. All right, let's wrap up with the menu section here. So I always ask, can you give us 3 words that describe your menu?
I would have to go with fresh, comforting, and savory.
Okay,
Never go wrong
fresh,
with savory.
comforting, and savory. Yeah. Okay. Oh, no, it's yeah, three good words. Okay, I like it. All right, let's jump into our tips and tricks. So this is my favorite part of the interview where somebody's struggling, somebody's having trouble with their food truck, or somebody wants to open a food truck, but they say, "Geez, how do I do this? I have no idea." What kind of advice would you give to somebody that just needs help? What's been the biggest help that you've had for getting your business going? What would you say?
I think especially if you're starting up and even if you're starting to struggle, make sure you surround yourself with a good support system of people, whether that be family, friends, and even professionally, especially. Go to networking events, go find other entrepreneurs, find other clubs, anything like that. You're going to want on the professional side, you're going to want to find, even if you're not using their services to their full extent, a good accountant, a bookkeeper, just to bounce questions off. Maybe you don't have employees to start, but find someone that can help you with HR questions down the road because you're going to have some that'll pop up. You're going to want to find someone, for law questions, anything that might be legal. There's a lot of different resources out there, especially with universities. I know for us, like in Wisconsin, there's University of Wisconsin has a law clinic where they use law students with lawyers and you can get free legal advice for businesses. So, just check resources out that way, but also finding any other resources to help you with those questions. And just on a personal side, yeah, those friends, family, I'm very fortunate where, I'm in this with my wife where a lot of people are like, I could never do that. But we're already are each other's support system where we're constantly, helping each other out that way too. So just having someone to help you on those down times, to pick you back up and keep going because it will get better. But also just remember, especially when you're starting off, it's okay to fail. That's how you learn.
Mhm.
Don't go into it knowing like I'm gonna fail this, so I'm still gonna go do it. Take the calculated risk on items. That's the whole point that you win in a business. And as long as you're failing and learning from that fail so you don't do it again, then you're doing it the right way.
Yeah, just education can be expensive sometimes. Not only cost, but yeah,
Yeah.
making
The amount of times we've, messed something up and offered refunds or, remade meals or, just overall, forgot something for paperwork or even you can even like forgetting to file something because you've made a mistake that way. Cause, you're wearing so many hats as an entrepreneur. That's where, over a few years you start building those relationships and start learning those tips and tricks of, reminders on calendars to, hey, pay your sales tax, file your sales tax. Hey, you have this due. Hey, oh, because I think it was after like 2 years where I started putting in my quarterly sales tax reminders to, hey, make sure you file this. Where now I remember to do it before I even get the reminder, but I won't take the reminder off.
All right, so yeah, I like that advice. If you need help, go get the help. Some people
Hmm.
don't like to ask for help, but it's okay. All right. That's a good tip. Okay, let's move on to the lightning round. So, five questions. Just give us the first answer that you can think of. It's just for fun. Let me see if I'm ready here. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay. All right. Question one. What is the best vegetable?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go with asparagus. It's one of my favorites.
Okay. Asparagus. Okay. Very seasonal. It's probably seasonal in Wisconsin, I would imagine.
Very, but I'll get it all when it's available.
Okay. All right. Question two. What's your favorite food from a convenience store?
My guilty pleasure is chips. I'll have to grab a bag of chips on the way out.
Do you have a favorite brand or favorite style?
It's usually between like a Cheetos or a Dorito or something like that. It'll switch up.
Okay. Yeah, chips. Okay. Yeah, I am a sucker. Probably once every 6 months, I'll just devour a bag of Cheetos, and then I'm good for 6 months. But yeah, it's kind of like a little internal clock tells me it's time for some Cheetos. All right. Question three. If you were a DJ, what would your DJ name be? Go.
I'll probably have to go with the nickname I've had since I've been, as long as I can remember, is T-Man. So,
T-Man. Okay, DJ T-Man. Okay. All right, question 4. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
whoa, absolutely not. You don't have to finish that
Thank
question.
you. Thank you. I've given out a couple buzzers on that one. All right, last question. Who is your dream celebrity customer? Go.
Oh, alive or passed away?
Up to you. Maybe recently passed. That'd be all right.
Not so recent, but this was one that we've always had before, and my wife and I are both agreed on it. But Anthony Bourdain has always been one that we feel like for us would be one that we'd love to serve and then go sit down and talk to. Just with everything he does on, the way he appreciates food and just not mainstream food. We just think he'd be someone really great to talk to and, his honest opinion on everything around and just great conversation.
Mhm. Okay, Anthony Bourdain. I saw you had a quote by him on your website.
Yeah, we're huge fans
So,
of him on everything.
yeah, okay. All right, good. All right, last section here is I call it what's in your glove box. Is there one thing, device, item that's always on you? It's there whenever you need it. It gets you out of a bind. I don't know. What's one thing you rely on?
This one, I don't know how unique or not, but we always carry dog treats, bubbles, and like coloring things for us. So no matter what, it's become one of those things where it really surprises customers and they turn out to be really happy if they're walking by. Even if they don't become our customer and I see a dog, I'm always really excited to be like, "You want a dog treat?" And they get really excited. And they usually stop and at least look at the menu. Sometimes they'll at least get a drink off of it. And if they have kids, especially if we're at a spot where, we're sitting, you have some seating there. We'll give them some pack of crayons and some stuff that go color, and you can make up some. We have like Purple Basil themed coloring pages, and for sure bubbles because what kid doesn't love bubbles? And that's always helped too. I mean, if you're a parent and you have little kids and they're not behaving or causing trouble, give them some bubbles. And the amount of times we've got that little quiet thank yous from behind for just having little things like that, little stuff like that. That now we've learned we just always keep the truck stocked with them.
Kind of customer experience items, maybe something
Mhm.
like that. Okay. Yeah, good answer. Okay. Well, I'm out of questions. I don't have anything else. Is there anything else that you want to say about anything?
Not too much for me. I mean, if anyone's out there is, looking to start it, I mean, do your research. It's a fun industry to get into, and there's a lot you can do with it, and um, have fun with it. Ask questions everywhere you go.
Okay. Yeah, good advice. Okay. Hey, Taylor. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today. It sounds like you're really interesting story, interesting menu items, and you've kind of carved out a niche for yourself in rural Wisconsin, it sounds like. So, hey, thanks for being here and keep on trucking.
Thank you much. Honk honk.
As always, folks, if you feel that we are bringing value to your food truck business, please like, subscribe, share on all the social media, including YouTube and your favorite podcast provider. Our goal here at the Kitchen Convoy is to bring you in-depth stories, problems and solutions, and actionable advice that you can use today to improve your food truck business tomorrow. If you'd like to see your food truck showcased on the Kitchen Convoy, send an email to thekitchenconvoy@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, kitchenconvoy.com. Scroll to the bottom, fill out our short form, and hit the big orange submit button. Or if you have a thought-provoking question that you think one of our professional food truck operator guests might be able to answer for you, you can send that email to thekitchenconvoy@gmail.com also. Once again, I'd like to remind you that OrderUpApps.com is your partner in the food truck business. If you want to add professional branding and an all-in-one service to your truck, I suggest you visit OrderUpApps.com. See you next time, and keep on trucking.
Thank you for listening to the Kitchen Convoy.